Welcome to the Deep Dives. Today, we're going exploring online casinos, specifically, how they keep things secure. I don't know about you, but like when I see projections, the industry hitting $127 billion by 2027, it makes me wonder about the security measures in place.
Yeah, it's a great question and a valid concern. With so much money, right, flowing through these platforms, it's really important to understand how they're, protecting your information, personal information, and your funds.
Right. So it's not just about like knowing if the site is legit, but also understanding like how they actually keep things safe. What are the key elements of this so-called, digital fortress?
Well, a good analogy might be to think of like a real fortress. You have walls, you have guards, and different levels of security. And online casinos are very similar. They use this multi-layered approach to security, with each layer playing a specific role.
Okay, I like where this is going. Break it down for us. What are these layers?
So one of the foundational layers is encryption technology. You're probably familiar with SSL encryption. It's what makes sure your credit card details are scrambled when you're making a purchase online. Casinos use the same technology to protect all of your data as it travels between your computer and their servers.
So even if like someone was, I don't know, snooping on the connection, they wouldn't be able to see my personal information or, what I'm doing on the site.
Exactly. That's the beauty of encryption. It makes the data unreadable to anyone who doesn't have the right key to decode it.
Okay, that makes sense. What else do they have in place besides this encryption?
Well, another crucial aspect is licensing and regulation. Think of it like the gaming commission for like a brick and mortar casino. So reputable online casinos are licensed by organizations such as the UK Gambling Commission or the Malta Gaming Authority, and they set very strict rules and standards for how these casinos can operate.
So it's not just about a casino like claiming to be trustworthy. They actually have to, prove it to these authorities to get a license.
Absolutely. These licenses are a way for players to know that a casino has been properly vetted and is held accountable to a higher standard. They have to meet certain requirements related to fair play, responsible gambling practices, and of course, security.
So if a casino doesn't have a license from one of these organizations, that's a big red flag.
Definitely, yeah. It's always the first thing you should look for when you're evaluating an online casino. No license usually means no accountability.
Got it. Now, we've all heard of like those random number generators or RNGs that casinos use. What role do they play in keeping things secure?
Well, RNGs are all about fairness. They're the algorithms that determine the outcome of games, like slots or roulette, and they ensure that the results are truly random, just like, flipping a coin or rolling dice in a physical casino.
So it's not like some guy behind a curtain is, controlling the results or anything.
Not at all. Reputable casinos have their RNGs regularly tested and certified by independent auditors. This is to guarantee that they are truly random and unbiased.
Okay, so that makes me feel a bit better about, those times I hit a losing streak. But even if the games are fair, how can I be sure that my account itself is safe?
Right, so that's where account verification comes in. This is where casinos will ask you to provide documentation to prove your identity, like a copy of your ID or a utility bill. It might seem like a hassle, but it's actually a very crucial step in protecting both you and the casino from fraud.
So it's like those security checks at the airport. Annoying but necessary.
Exactly. It helps prevent things like identity theft, money laundering, and underage gambling. And it really ensures that the person playing is actually who they say they are.
Makes sense. So we've got encryption to protect our data, in transit, licensing to ensure the casino's legit, RNGs to keep the games fair, and account verification to prevent fraud. It sounds like a pretty solid system.
It is. Of course, no system is, foolproof, but these are the core security measures that reputable online casinos use to create a safe and secure environment for their players.
Okay, so we've covered like the basics of how online casinos keep things secure, from a technical standpoint. But let's get practical for a second. How do we actually go about choosing a reputable casino? I mean, there are so many options out there. It could feel like overwhelming.
It can definitely be a jungle out there. But, just like you wouldn't choose a random stranger to hold your money, you shouldn't pick an online casino at random either. There are a few key things to look for that can really help you make a more informed decision.
So walk us through it. Where do we even begin?
Well, we've already touched on the importance of licensing, right? That's always the first step. Make sure the casino is licensed by a reputable authority, like the UK Gambling Commission or the Malta Gaming Authority. But don't just, take their word for it, verify it. Most regulatory bodies have websites where you can actually look up licensed casinos.
So a little bit of detective work is required. What else should we be looking for?
Okay, so once you've verified the license, it's time to kind of tap into the collective wisdom of the online gambling community. So read reviews from other players, look for patterns, recurring themes. Are people consistently praising the casino's, fairness, customer service, reliability? Or are there red flags popping up about like delayed payouts or unresponsive support?
Yeah, reviews can be so helpful. It's like getting a sneak peek, behind the curtain before you commit to anything.
Exactly. And while you're browsing those reviews, keep an eye out for any industry awards the casino might have won. Awards from, reputable organizations can be a good indicator of a casino's commitment to like quality and fairness.
So a casino with like a trophy case full of awards is probably a good sign.
It can be, but it's important to be discerning, right? Not all awards are created equal. Look for awards from respected industry organizations that have, rigorous judging criteria.
Okay, so we've checked the license, read the reviews, and looked for awards. Anything else we should consider?
Absolutely. Before you even think about depositing any money, put their customer support to the test. Reach out with a question, even a simple one. See how quickly and how effectively they respond. A responsive and helpful support team is a good sign that the casino, really values its players.
That's a great tip. I mean, if they're willing to like help you out before you've even, given them your money, that says a lot.
Precisely. And finally, trust your gut. If a casino seems too good to be true or if something just feels off, it probably is. There are plenty of reputable online casinos out there, so don't settle for one that gives you a bad vibe.
Great advice. It's always better to err on the side of caution. Now, let's say we've found a casino that checks all the boxes. We've verified their license, read positive reviews, we've even chatted with their support. What steps can we take to protect our personal information once we've signed up? It's like having a digital vault, right?
That's a great analogy. Your personal information is valuable and you need to protect it accordingly. So the first line of defense is a strong password. Don't use like common words or phrases or anything easily guessable. Make it complex with a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols.
And don't use the same password for everything. That's just asking for trouble.
You're absolutely right. Each online account should have a unique password. That way, if one account is compromised, the others remain safe.
Okay, strong, unique passwords. Got it. What about that two-factor authentication I keep hearing about? Is that something we should be using?
Absolutely. Two-factor authentication is like adding an extra lock to your digital vault. It requires you to enter a code from your phone or email in addition to your password when you're logging in. This makes it much, much harder for hackers to access your account, even if they, somehow have your password.
So it's basically like a double security check.
Exactly. And many online casinos offer this feature, so make sure to enable it if it's available. It really does add an extra layer of protection that can make a world of difference.
Speaking of extra layers of protection, what about using public Wi-Fi? Is it safe to, log into my casino account at my local coffee shop?
That's where things get a little tricky. Public Wi-Fi networks are often unsecured, which means, hackers could potentially intercept your data, so it's really best to avoid accessing sensitive accounts like your online casino account on, public networks altogether.
So stick to my home network or use a VPN if I need that extra layer of protection when I'm out and about.
Exactly. A VPN basically creates a secure tunnel for your internet traffic, and that makes it much harder for hackers to snoop on your activity.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about, keeping an eye on things once we're up and running? Are there any steps we should be taking to make sure like everything stays secure?
Absolutely. Get in the habit of regularly monitoring your accounts. Check your bank statements, your casino account. For any unauthorized transactions, it's better to, catch any suspicious activity early on.
Like checking your wallet every now and then just to make sure everything's still there?
Precisely. And if you notice anything unusual, report it to the casino's customer support immediately. They can help you investigate and take steps to secure your account. By taking these precautions, you can actually enjoy your online casino experience without, constantly worrying about your personal information falling into the wrong hands.
All of this is really helpful. It sounds like, online casino security is all about being proactive and taking those extra steps to protect yourself.
That's exactly right. It's all about empowering yourself with knowledge and making informed decisions.
So we've talked about choosing a reputable casino and protecting our personal information, but what about ensuring fair play? How can we be sure that the games themselves are, on the up and up?
That's a great question and a fundamental aspect of online casino security, really. I mean, what's the point of playing if you don't trust that the games are fair?
Exactly. Nobody wants to feel like they're being cheated.
Absolutely. So how can you ensure you're getting a fair shake? Well, remember those RNGs we talked about earlier? They're really the heart of fair play in online casinos. Look for casinos that have their RNGs tested and certified by independent auditors, like Ecogra or iTech Labs. These organizations specialize in ensuring that online casino games are truly random and fair.
So it's like having a third-party, referee checking the equipment before the game starts.
Precisely. These auditors, they rigorously test the RNGs to make sure that they're generating truly random outcomes, and that gives you the confidence that the games aren't rigged against you.
That's reassuring. But what about those payout percentages I see advertised? How do they factor into, fairness?
Payout percentages are another important indicator of fairness. Reputable casinos will publish these percentages, and basically it indicates the portion of wagers that are paid back to players over time. Higher percentages generally mean better odds for you.
So if a casino has, a payout percentage of 95%, that means for every $100 wagered, they pay out $95 in winnings.
That's the general idea. Of course, this is all calculated over a long period, and individual results will vary. But it gives you a sense of how much the casino is paying back to players overall. The higher the payout percentage, the more favorable it is for the players.
Okay, so higher payout percentage is a good thing. What other ways can we kind of gauge fairness?
Another great way is by tapping into the online casino community. Participate in forums, read discussions where players share their experiences. You can learn a lot from other players' insights into different casinos.
It's like getting the inside scoop from, seasoned players.
Exactly. You can get a feel for which casinos have a reputation for fairness and which ones have raised, red flags among players. And finally, pay attention to the game providers. Casinos that partner with, well-known and reputable game developers like Microgaming or NetEnt are more likely to offer fair games. These companies have a reputation to uphold, and they're heavily scrutinized for fairness.
So a casino featuring games from, big-name providers is a good sign?
Right. It shows they're committed to quality and fairness, and that they're willing to work with providers who have, a proven track record. Now, even with all these precautions in place, it's still important to be aware of potential red flags. Think of it like, going on a date. There are certain warning signs that should make you proceed with caution.
Okay, I like this analogy. So what are some, online casino red flags that would make you swipe left?
Well, first impressions matter, and that includes the casino's website. A poorly designed website with broken links or grammatical errors can be a sign of a, less than professional operation. It might indicate that they haven't invested the time and resources to create a quality platform.
It's like showing up for a date in sweatpants.
Exactly. You want to see that they've put effort into their presentation. It reflects their overall approach to their business. Next, pay close attention to their terms and conditions. Are they clear and easy to understand, or are they vague and full of legal jargon?
Yeah, you don't want to be surprised by hidden fees or complicated withdrawal rules later on.
Absolutely. Transparency is key. Reputable casinos will have clear and concise terms and conditions that are, easy for players to understand. Another major red flag is delayed withdrawals. Reputable casinos should process your withdrawals promptly. If you see consistent complaints from players about, slow payouts, that's a serious warning sign.
It's like waiting weeks for a text back. Not a good sign.
And finally, always be wary of casinos that are vague about their licensing information. If you can't easily find details about their licensing and regulation, that's a huge red flag. You should be proud to display their credentials prominently on their website.
So if they're hiding their license, it's like they're hiding something else.
Exactly. Legitimate casinos are transparent about their licensing. Remember, trust your gut instinct. If something feels off, it probably is. There are plenty of reputable online casinos out there, so don't settle for one that gives you a bad vibe.
Great advice. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So to recap, we've learned about choosing a reputable casino, protecting our personal information, ensuring fair play. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It's like we've given you a toolkit for navigating the online casino world safely and responsibly.
Yeah, it really is a toolkit, huh? We've gone from the foundations of online casino security to, these practical tips for choosing a site and protecting yourself.
And it's really, it's that combination, right, of understanding the technology, but also being a savvy user. That's what really empowers players.
Absolutely. But with all this talk of security and red flags and everything, it's easy to forget that online casinos, are supposed to be fun.
Yeah, that's so important to remember. It's about finding that balance, between enjoying the entertainment and being responsible.
So how can, our listeners out there take all this information, apply it to their next online casino experience? What are the key things to keep in mind?
I think A good takeaway is to remember that knowledge is power, right? The more you understand about how online casinos work, the better equipped you are to make, safe and informed decisions.
Right. It's not about being paranoid or anything. It's about being informed.
Exactly. Do your research, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If something doesn't feel right, there's probably a good reason.
And remember, there are plenty of reputable online casinos out there that, they really do prioritize security and fairness.
Absolutely. It's all about finding, the right fit for you and your preferences.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of online casinos. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It was my pleasure. I always enjoy, kind of demystifying these topics and empowering players to have a safe and enjoyable experience.
To all our listeners out there, remember, play responsibly, have fun, and stay curious. Until next time on The Deep Dive.